You're live.
Hi, welcome to Bell Garden. We're right here in the middle of Bellevue, Tennessee. And boy, is it a pretty day today. And you're live at the View right now. And we're going to be talking this evening all about Bell Garden. It's well, I'll let the experts tell you what it's all about. But I want you to stand by, because you know what you're going to do tonight? You're going to meet a 75-year-old chicken named Beatrice. Now that's tempting to stand, right? Let me get out of here. And if you're from around here, you know we've had a lot of rain this week. And as you can see, you wear muckers when you're at Bell Garden when it rains a lot. Missy?
Oh, yes, Tim. Oh, and he's right. We even have, to honor our chickens, we even have our customized chick. Look at that. Look at that. People laugh about Fashion Week in the garden, but it's a real thing. Yeah, so I'm dressed up all fancy with Mr. Tim.
So why don't you introduce yourself and what you do here at the Bell Garden, and what Bell Garden, let's start your name and what you do and what really is Bell Garden.
Fantastic. So my name is Missy Hamilton. I am one of the garden managers here, as well as president of the board of directors. And what we do here at Bell Garden, we are a fantastic hybrid of a school garden and a community garden. And people will say, well, I've never been there. Where are you located? So we are right across from the Bellevue Public Library, next to the track where all these fine folks are enjoying this day, directly behind Bellevue Middle School and across the street from Red Caboose Park. I digress. I wanted, before it's her bedtime, I want you to meet our fabulous, the divine Miss B. And I say bedtime, let's see if she's still out here. Is that her out in the corner? Look at her.
She's hiding from us.
75 and feeling alive. So,
and as people probably know by now, we were joshing them about the age. That's in chicken years.
It is in chicken years, absolutely. Yeah. She is 14 years old. She is feeling fine. She is taken care of by our amazing chicken tender team. We have volunteers that come at sunrise, midday.
Wait, you said chicken tenders?
Chicken tenders. Chicken tenders. And I kind of want to brag that I'm the first person that laughed about that, but no. So we have a delightful, Laura Hyman is our queen of the chickens, and Renee Kastman, who is a fantastic human and volunteer as well. Believe you me, we have to check in with Renee every single time. So again, chicken tenders, sunrise, midday, and as you can see, sunset. But there's more that's happening here. So this is Deborah Stillwell. She is our vice president, and she manages all of the operations here. So we do have a few little things that are coming down the pike. Tell us about these white flags. What's going on over here?
Right. Well, you share the microphone. Okay. Right. Well, if you can notice the white flags that are across Bee's run, where she's likes to play and everything, from the white flags toward Beatrice is where we were going to put our bees. We are thrilled that we were chosen by a Vanderbilt student, an Ingram scholar named Max Adams, as his project to add bees to Bell. So we will have local honey, and the bees should be here probably in May, and hopefully we'll have some local honey to share with the community really super soon.
And this is the first time bees will be here at Bell.
Yes.
Yes, we're very lucky. Max actually had several hives at home, so he has been doing bees for years. And he chose us. There were several nonprofits that he was looking at to add hives, and he met with us and chose us as the perfect place for bees. And we're lucky because he is, I believe, a rising junior at Vanderbilt, so he's going to be here at least a couple more years to help us facilitate the bees. So we're very, very excited.
And you'll have plenty of flowers for them to pollinate. And
absolutely.
So that'll help you as well. Then.
Yes. And interestingly enough, we've researched, and the honeybees like specific plants to pollinate. So in this area, besides the hives, we are also going to have a special pollinator garden strictly for the honeybees with their favorites. We're also going to get rid of the grass and put in clover for the bees.
And that's really part of your educational influence here.
Yes.
You want to educate who will come to see the bees and actually the garden. You said originally this is a hybrid community garden as well as an educational lab.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a little bit of a story behind that too. Um, we, we were fully operational, and then COVID hit, and we're like, well, we're a Bellevue Edible Learning Lab. What are we supposed to do? We can't have kids, we can't have volunteers. So what we actually did was we did the good old pivot, right? That's our thing. We pivoted and we converted all of our raised beds, which we're going to take a tour of the new ones, and our field rows into growing food for the Bellevue Community Food Bank. It was actually interesting, and I know Deborah managed all of our volunteers, because I do want to take a note and explain that one. None of us are paid. So all staff, the garden managers, everyone, we all are volunteers. So what was very interesting was we would be out here working and people would be walking the track. That's how we met the lovely Michael McBride, local artist. Actually, I met him because I kept seeing this handsome man walking the track every day. And I was like, hey, friend. And he's like, hey, friend. So we would start talking and people would start coming and they would start volunteering, and they would start signing up. And they would say, I lost my job, I don't have anything to do, or I'm so depressed, I'm away from my family. So it was amazing that we actually built this incredible community in the middle of like a crisis. And part of that is kind of the culture that we manage here. I will say that we work to be, and we're actually going to start our tour here and get through our ability beds, but we want all people with all abilities. And so we do work to keep, we keep politics out of the garden. We have a wonderful culture of love here, where everyone is welcome and everyone is put to work, because it's a labor of love, right?
Right.
So let's take a little tour here.
And while we're walking towards the bed, what is there to see? If somebody's watching this, and first of all, if you have any questions, if you're watching this, please let us know. Just tap it in and just type your question for us, and the ladies here will be glad to answer for you.
Yes, and give us some grace as we switch out microphones. So the overview is that we have 6,000 square feet of field rows. We have a wonderful composting center. We have our delightful chicken coop area. It is year was 2,000 plants. 2,000 plants. So again, 5013C is you said soil.
So okay. Meanwhile, we're talking about Mount Bellevue.
Bellevue.
And your compost and fresh what I see, a lot of things. Do people volunteer? Do people donate all this? Or how are you funded real quickly?
Yes, so we are funded by, of course, all volunteer. We are funded by grants. We're going to talk about the wonderful Predators grants and how the support that they've done and private donations. And then again, Deborah's going to talk about our plant sale, which is fundamental to keep things up and running. Even more, Deborah's going to talk about our products, the jams, and all the other wonderful we do.
Business in Bellevue and real. Do you have any sort of response?
From the bell,
I think so.
when you've had a
Even
yeah.
way for you to be
We a little bit after do garden math and definitely delivery from the compost. They're outstanding. This thing was enormous. We needed 56 cubic yards of compost. It was huge. It's hard. He said, "Man," and I'm going to do that have to be admitted. And miss unfortunate math.
and you also spend
Have canning classes as we go into the season. So yeah, a lot of great
how can
things.
people find out about all these?
They're on our website, which is bellgarden10.org, and it's all donation based. We ask for at least a minimum of $5, and you can go as high as you want. So you can get this wonderful knowledge, and a lot of times take homes, maybe free plants, just by attending one of our classes.
And if you're watching and somebody out there is really good at one particular part, can they come in and offer to teach a class for you?
Yes, absolutely. We do have outside people, friends of Bell Garden, that love to come in and teach classes. There is no fee, of course, for the instructor, because this is a source of revenue for us.
And are the classes all in the evening?
No, most all of them are in the daytime on Saturdays. We've had a few on Sundays, but not right now, nothing during the evening.
Tell me about these raised beds.
Yes.
Ashley Hall says that Missy and Deborah rock.
Oh, yay!
Ashley
rocks.
Is the new board member who's in charge of putting together all of our Growing Together classes.
Yeah, so the history about this too was we did kind of when we started on the board together, we did the second Saturday classes, and during COVID, we were doing them live and, all these things. So Ashley came in and she has been an absolute rock star. So she has really spearheaded getting the teachers, getting the calendar, getting the organization. I mean, she's an absolute phenomenal. And that's the kind of board that we have. So everyone on our board has a specific skill.
And they're all rock stars.
They are all
if
rock
Ashley's a rock
stars.
star, you two are rock stars.
It is.
Yes.
And so
I hear no music. I hear
your rock.
In fact, look at there's a rock pile.
Let's
right
talk about
there.
my rock pile.
Right.
Yeah, actually, this is pretty exciting. So the patio was built by a phenomenal Eagle Scout named Savannah. We are going to have a wonderful ceremony for her now that COVID has passed. The top part is what's very important to me. So I get to work, and if anybody is interested in working with exceptional education students, please reach out to us. So Hillwood's exceptional education students have built their exceptionally awesome garden. So understand that these are folks that have all kinds of wonderful abilities that have come in here. We have Brandon's peas. We have Isaiah's spinach. We have Cora, Devin, and Billy, if you're out there. This is Cora's broccoli. More spinach over here, because this serves two purposes again. Number one is because we have exceptionally awesome students. But number two, they've also planted this wheelchair bed over here so that folks can reach and tend and do. So again, the raised beds and the wheelchair beds are all built specifically for anyone that has possibly arthritis, bending issues, needs to stand or lean. And then, of course, our wonderful new wheelchair accessible beds, which is extremely exciting.
And how can people get involved in this? Is it just students or seniors that want to keep their hands in the dirt?
Exactly. So that's everyone. So what we ask that people do is that they please go to the website and they can click the volunteer button. The lovely Natalie manages all of our volunteers. And when you sign up, you actually will go through a process. The most important thing is honestly the orientation that's done with Deborah, because what Deborah does is she has private conversations with each volunteer to understand what their needs are and what their skill set is. So that way, especially if we know that you're coming, we know how to organize appropriate activities.
So they could just call and come in, even if they're not a member of a group, but if they just want to be part of it,
No,
they can come in.
Instead of calling, they need to go on the website under the volunteer tab. And the first step is to fill out the volunteer application. And then we'll be in touch with them regarding orientation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's also important too for people that have, let's say that you want to volunteer and you're struggling with some anxiety issues, agoraphobia, hypo or hypersensitivities. We know how to get you with the right key volunteer because we do have a structure. So we used to get volunteers from Hands on Nashville.
Exclusively.
They would show up and, it was kind of whatever we were going to do. So Deborah took on that program and we started driving all the volunteers to her. So that is where this whole process started. And it's been wonderful because we know who's coming. We know if there are any sensitivities. We know how to get them with the right key volunteer, because full circle, the key volunteers are the people who may have come to us from Hands on Nashville, but then we're so excited about being here. They said, yes, I want to come back. So we have Charlene, who are some of our key volunteers. I mean, Charlene.
Renee, Nat, we've mentioned them before. Also, Jen, Sarah and Wyatt, Jen and her two kids.
Yes.
And everything. And it helps us. In the past, when all our volunteers would come from Hands on Nashville, it would be all new to them. They wouldn't know where anything was, and you'd have to start over again every week, and you wouldn't know who was going to show up. But when we have our own key volunteers, they know what to expect. They know where things are. It's a lot more efficient. A lot more things get done. We still use Hands on Nashville, but we also have our key volunteers in place.
What if somebody just wants to, just in the afternoon, just drop in and walk around the garden? Are they permitted?
Absolutely.
Do they have to check in with anybody or just come and walk around?
Absolutely. Come and walk around. The only thing that we do we ask that our doggy friends walk their dogs outside on the perimeter to protect our plants. And also because, here's a fun fact, doggy pee-pee keeps the rabbits away. Now, we love our rabbits, we love our martins, we love our birds. We just don't want them in the wrong place. So that's the only thing that we ask, and we remind people that we are not a dog park. So.
And are you organic here? Do you
Organic
specialize
is
in it?
difficult. We try to focus on organic. So for us, we use the best seeds, and we don't use any pesticides. We really focus on companion planting, and then really understanding integrated pest management. So
Like dog pee.
Like dog pee.
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
So if anybody else needs another quick tip, it's bone meal. Rabbits are vegan, and they don't want any of that. So yeah, bone meal in your garden also gives you a wonderful source of nitrogen, but dog pee keeps them away from our stuff. So let's keep going, because I have
You got some
other
raised beds over there.
fun stuff. Yeah, this is especially exciting to me. So again, because we are an integrated hybrid school and community garden, well, what does that mean? Okay, so we are we're the recipients of this amazing grant. Now, the Predators Foundation have been absolutely outstanding. We're going to look at the vertical garden, they and other things that they have supplied for us, but this is the biggest deal. So we applied for a grant, and they graciously funded the construction of all of our new beds. And of course, building supplies. I mean, I know folks out there themselves are like, oh my goodness, look at how the cost of lumber has gone up. But we were able, with their help, to build our new bed system that are about ready to go into the ground. We also had a very interesting problem come up during this. Remember, volunteers only. We had horrendous weather and flooding all in the fall, all of this rain. So as you can see, it's not really a geology project as much as we have had to construct an entire new drainage and irrigation system. So the point being is that when these beds are finally set in, we say ADA compliant light, because all of our friends in walkers and wheelchairs are going to be able to get through them. And it's a twofold experience. Number one, we'll be growing food again for the community food bank, but this is also how we work with the students of Bellevue Middle School. So with the students, we'll be teaching, as we reintegrated post-COVID, we will be teaching hydroponics, intro botany. I mean, and it's more than just Bellevue Middle School, homeschool students. But the kicker, and we're going to kind of whip around a little bit, because I really want Deborah to talk about the greenhouse, because recently I was asked, like, how do you manage being a community garden? Does anybody just show up and get a bed? And I was like, no. Last year we lost 60% of our produce that we donate to the mosaic virus. So with pests, with care, people unfortunately will say, oh, I want a garden, but then they stop coming, or they don't know how to manage their own pests or issues with their plants. They leave it, and it can wipe out a whole garden. So again, Deborah's going to talk a little bit more about the greenhouse apprenticeship class. Once you go through that class or one of our classes, you then do have the opportunity, because you've learned so much, to have your own bed. But that is how we solve the problem.
Excellent. Well, we'll finish up in the greenhouse under light.
I want to talk a little bit more about the importance of these raised beds. We're 10 years old this year, and we had the original beds until this past fall. Last year's growing season was really tricky because the soil was old, the beds were falling apart. So when we would irrigate, a lot of the water would run out and not really water the plants. It would just run out in the paths and everything. So this grant from the Predators is so pivotal to the volume of produce that we're going to be able to grow this year. We're redoing all our irrigation, and it's going to be phenomenal, the amount of food we're going to be able to grow for the food bank.
Absolutely. And the second part of it is, to your point, is soil quality.
Mhm.
So you can grow the most beautiful veggies ever, but if they're grown in crappy soil, you get crappy nutrition. So again, with their assistance and the compost company as well, we're actually putting good nutrient dense soil back into these beds.
Good neighbors.
Good neighbor.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And I
like
love
that killdeer over there who was telling us to get off his lawn.
Well, speaking of that, this is such an auditory wonderland. We've heard a train, we've heard fire trucks, we've heard birds, we heard the kids playing soccer.
Yes.
Now we're hearing an airplane.
Yes.
The bird. I mean, it's beautiful. And plus we see the moon out tonight.
Yes.
It couldn't be any better.
Yes. And it's incredible. And I want everybody to come and volunteer. Glenn, I don't know if you can see, that is a mama and a baby killdeer in the field. See the other little babies? I don't know if you can get super close. They're out there in the middle of the field rows. They make up, there's another baby. They're itty bitty little fledglings. So killdeer are fascinating because they don't kill you and they're not a deer. But what happens is you can hear their chirp, chirp, chirp. But where you see the mama and the baby, you will see a daddy. And the daddy deer or killdeer will act injured and go and completely drag its wing like it's hurt to lure you away from the nest and the mommy and the babies. So right now she's telling us we need to go on, and we are going on,
And
Queen.
amazingly, we have now on tape, we have Missy doing the killdeer dance.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I hope that was fantastic.
I think that's going to be a hit.
Yes. I want my money.
So, ladies and gentlemen, come ask Missy to dance for
That's
you.
right. Oh, you don't. That's right. Okay.
All right,
So
what do we have here to the right? It's a nice set of gardens over here.
it is. And if you don't mind, I'm going to turn you over to Deborah, because she has done such an amazing job with there's a whole crew of bloom people.
Bloom.
So may I turn this over to you, or do you want to I don't know how this works. Just walk like this with style.
Yeah, really.
Please.
So over in this area here is our large flower garden, and we have a group of volunteers called the Bloom Patrol. We have daylilies coming up that are over 200 years old that were gifted to us. Perennials, annuals, we'll have zinnias coming up. We have a lot of lamb's ear, and I'm sitting
And what
climbing.
is that chartreuse one off to your left here? The ground cover. Is that a type of a sedum? Or?
Is that creeping?
Creeping Jenny.
That's creeping Jenny.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, we just had our buttercups and everything grow. We have tulips that have grown. But the fun thing about this whole area is that in the summer, when everything is beautifully prolific, we have a cut your own flower ability. You bring a vase, we put a little bit of water in it, and you can go through our gardens and cut your own bouquets for a donation. So that's
excellent. Yeah.
really, really a lot of fun.
We'll have to come back when everything's in bloom.
Yes. I do want to, now that we've walked through the rocks, we can go back through this way, because I want to show you our farm stand. 2 years ago, we got a broken picnic table. We put it at the front gate and started selling a little bit of our produce as a fundraiser. We did so well that we added on the gazebo, and this is our farm stand. This weekend, our plant sale will be in this area. But during the summer months, we have everything from tomatoes to okra to cucumber to squash. And the best thing about it is we pick it and then bring it up to the farm stand. That is as far as it travels. Okay. So
no supply chain
no
issues.
supply chain issues. We have happy vegetables because they haven't been sitting on a truck for hours, and you can't get any fresher than picked a few moments ago.
And how are your prices compared to other fruit
We
stands?
look at Sprouts for some of our pricing. We're pretty much aligned with them. The difference is you don't pay tax with us, so automatically it's less.
9%, right?
And we don't have the overhead. I'm sure prices will be going up this year because of salaries and gas and everything else, we don't have that issue because all we do is walk it from one end of the garden to the other. So we don't have the overhead. Something else I want to point out, you may or may not be able to see right now, but around the entire perimeter of our garden, we have our thornless blackberries. They come in usually maybe the last day of June, and overnight they're ready. They are so prolific, we have to pick them 2 times a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. And then in July, they're gone. So we sell them at City Limits Cafe. We sell them in the farm stand. We sell them across the street at the farmer's market. When they get a little bit overripe, we make jam with them. We also, when our tomatoes get overripe, we make tomato jam. When we had a lot of jalapeno peppers, we made pickled peppers. I know, say that quickly. And well, actually, I didn't pickle them. I made cowboy caviar is what it's called and everything. So it was really good. We also dry and sell our herbs. We dry our chili peppers and make chili powder. So everything we possibly can do with the produce we have here to turn it into something that we can sell to help sustain ourselves, we do out of this little farm stand.
This is amazing. You guys do wonders here.
We also sell our seeds. We seed save and sell our seeds.
Very cool.
Sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
Sustainability.
And so when you're talking about all the donations and how you raise money, are you open for just specific donations? If somebody has something extra at their home that they want to donate, what are your uses? What are your needs?
Yeah, they need to reach out to us. We do have a wish list on our website, asking for anything from wheelbarrows to jelly jars for our jam. Recently, our greenhouse manager, Stuart's sister, saw him using a broad fork, which is a tool that you use to turn the soil, and it's very labor intensive. And I had posted a video of him broad forking. And his brother-in-law says, one word, tiller. And of course, tillers are very expensive. Well, his sister gave us the money to buy the tiller. So you just never know what we might need and somebody might have. But if they have other things, like someone reached out to us today, they had some pavers that they weren't going to use. Could they donate them to us? And they sent us a picture, gave us some information, and we're getting the pavers delivered tomorrow. So we don't take everything, although we do take berry containers for our blackberries. We take, and you'll see in a minute why, we take milk cartons, gallon milk cartons, and also half-gallon milk cartons that we reuse and repurpose so we don't have to buy stuff.
Perfect. Let's work our way toward the greenhouse.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
the birds. I
Getting
love
a
the bird
little dark,
sound.
huh?
Yeah.
I told you about that killdeer.
Another thing that we do, stuff like, oh yes, we have a huge herb garden over here. Why don't we walk through this way to get to the greenhouse? A lot of the plants that we have are perennials and they spread. For example, all of these here are strawberries. We do not need this many strawberries. So we will go around the garden every spring and lift and share some of our plants that have grown, and we sell them also in our plants. So we'll have our strawberries that we're selling too.
This is a time of year that homeowners are going to all kinds of nurseries, home centers to buy their own plants. And they end up with these black plastic things that they don't know what to do with, and they just throw them in the garden. Can you use something like that?
Yes. In fact, Sunday, I've done a Facebook post of when you plant, give us your containers. And once again, you'll see the reason why when we visit our greenhouse. Missy, you want to talk a little bit about the herb garden?
Yeah, just briefly. And this is These are our herb gardens, and it's actually kind of serves two purposes. I talked earlier about, where you said where people just want to come and be quiet and rest, or sometimes people get overstimulated. So over here is more of our hypersensitive area, right? So it's cooling, all the herbs are fragrant and delightful. And then on the other side is more of the hypersensitive. We do have students and some visitors to the garden. They want to touch, they want to feel, they want to smell, they want all the stimulation. So when in May, when y'all come back, you're going to see the entryway to the herb garden. It's so bright. And over here, we have our pollinator. Let me start right here. So pollinators absolutely are the most important. This turns into just a gorgeous sea of hummingbirds and bees and butterflies. We've planted all of our butterfly plants. We have our parsley, we have our fennel, we have our dill, so that all of our wonderful swallowtails, and we've even seen some monarchs, have a place to rest. And it's my favorite part. So over here is the medicinal garden. Deborah and I had a wonderful field trip out to, please tell me her name again. I always forget. She was so amazing. Amazing lady in East Nashville. There you go. So she allowed us to, Karen, thank you. She gave us like stinging nettle, which I had to hide. But marshmallow, motherwort, wood betony, bone knit. I mean, all these amazing medicinal herbs that are all going to be coming back. Here right now, basil is always a top favorite. I did have 13 different kinds of basil last year. It was a little extra, but we did, it was a little extra, but we did dry and sell them. So let's keep walking through here. This is all the different kinds of mint. Again, please pardon our construction. We have a wonderful tea herb garden where we actually have tea plants and lemongrass and all of the wonderful things. We'll be growing ginger, fennel, cumin, all the wonderful things that you need to make those delightful teas. This is super exciting and kind of the bane of my existence for a minute. We have Elaine Aldis and Ethel Linnell. Elaine is a hybrid too. She's Arts Bellevue and she's Bell Garden. Ethel Linnell has been a longtime board member. They are going to be planting a dye garden and then teaching some weaving classes once we get this elderberry a new home. So folks, just as a tip, I know elderberry sounds fantastic in the winter when you're uncomfortable. You don't want it in your garden because it does take over. There you go.
As we walk toward the greenhouse, explain what a dye garden is.
Yes, so think about calendula, marigold family, indigo, things that have been, onion, right, beet, all these wonderful, wonderful plants that have been used over time to create dyes for weaving for clothes. So even Deborah's friend gave us a wonderful sample. Do you remember like the strangest thing that was used as a dye? Was there anything that stood out?
Well, I was really surprised about like onion skins, and who would do that? Yeah. So we're going to use it in particular to probably dye yarn. And then we're going to do some yarn bobbing, but that's a story for June. I'll be talking to you in June about that.
This is where we grow pot.
Do we? No weeds? Are there lights?
Weed-free garden.
Are there lights in here?
Well, there is one way down there.
This is the interrogation room. Welcome.
So if we can have a little light, you would ask about containers. This is what we do with the containers you bring. We put them in here and then we'll wash them out. We'll put holes in them if needed. And we'll bleach some of the ones that have had plants in them before. But we love yogurt containers, cottage cheese containers, any of this kind of stuff we reuse, and we will show you why. If you want to come to the light, how's that?
Hey Siri, turn on the flashlight.
These are our peppers.
I turned flashlight on.
Thank you. These are our peppers we've grown in the greenhouse. These are little yogurt cups from Kroger. All of the plants that you see here have all been grown from seed in cottage cheese containers, yogurt containers, any of the things that we can get from our wonderful friends in the community means that we don't have to buy containers.
You have to poke holes in the bottom of these?
Yes, I'll show you. That's what we do in the bottom of these. So we've had a growing green class this season where Stuart Englert, our greenhouse manager, and about 6 of us have come in here and planted all these plants that we're going to be selling this weekend from seed and monitoring the heat and the cold. We, just like the chicken tenders, we check the greenhouse 3 times a day and monitor the temperature, and we have to turn on heaters. We might have to turn on fans. It could be 30 degrees in the morning, but the sun comes out and it's all of a sudden it's 90 degrees in here. So you have to constantly be adjusting. We've also asked, besides having the cottage cheese and yogurt containers, for half-gallon milk jugs. This is why. We grow our tomatoes in these jugs. These are perfect for tomatoes because tomatoes have very long roots, and they're perfect in these milk jugs. So when you drop by your recycling to us, instead of taking it to the recycling center, and we did do some diving for some of these, I must admit, because we have close to 600 tomatoes ready for the plant sale. This is why this is what we use. So you see all these beauties here. We have peppers, basil, squash. What do we have up here? Okra.
How do you decide what to plant? Is it by demand?
That's a great question. We met with Robin at the food bank and asked her what her clients wanted. And based on what they wanted and what we know grows really well here, that's how we decide what to plant. The farm stand has kind of been a learning experience too. Everyone loves heirloom tomatoes. That's one of our biggest sellers. So we make sure we have plenty of that to offer. With all of these plants in here, and it's probably close to 2,000 plants, this will help us with the plant sale, but all of these is also what we're going to plant in our raised beds and in our field rows. And we've doubled the size of our field rows this year so we can produce more to sell in the farm stand as well as to give to the food bank. So this is how we do it. A pack of seeds, not very expensive. You go and buy plants, very expensive. Plus, like I said earlier, we know where these plants have been. We know we very carefully choose our seeds from certain companies we've had success with. And we, my grandson has come in here and sung to the plants and everything.
Has that helped?
It does. It's very happy plants. So that makes
classical music lovers.
That makes a difference. I don't know. He was singing to a tomato the other day, and he looked at it. He's 4 years old. And he said, "I think this plant needs the Titanic song." So I kid you not, I have a video of him humming the Celine Dion "My Heart Will Go On" as he's holding it, lovingly looking at a tomato plant. Hey.
And then we
It makes it makes a difference. I'll have to share that with you. So, any other questions?
Have we gotten any more, Glenn?
Nope.
As far as the planting, do you have a greenhouse manager? I mean, I've tried growing things from seeds,
right.
not very successfully. So you've got to have somebody in here that knows what they're doing. These plants look amazing. They're very healthy looking. Right.
Our greenhouse manager, Stuart, is he's also in charge of the field rows. And a lot of this he has learned over the years, trial and error. This building 3 years ago, I think, was mainly used as storage. A bunch of just junk was put in here. It was not used as a greenhouse. So Stuart came here, cleaned it out, and every year we've grown a little bit more. The problem that we have is that this is probably 8 years old, and the life of this plastic is probably around 4 or 5 years old. Case in point, if you look around the edges here, you see pieces of cardboard. Is because we have holes under here where the plastic has deteriorated from bird droppings, and also the wood has rotted. So our focus this year, a lot of our fundraising is going to be raising money to help recover the greenhouse. We have added heaters in here, and also had gotten some electrical work done. But this is kind of the heart of everything at Bell Garden. If we don't have this greenhouse to grow our plants for the garden, then we have no garden. If we don't have this greenhouse to grow the produce that we sell in the farm stand, that cuts into our income for our sustainability. It also affects the food bank. So everything in this garden starts in this greenhouse.
And that's the biggest way to keep control of it yourself.
Yes.
And that's the whole concept.
Absolutely. But fingers crossed that this has lasted this year. I mean, we were really worried about it with all the holes and that type stuff. But because of the volunteers coming by 3 times a day, checking on the temperature and the plants and everything, it takes that kind of care. Because I mean, this is everything to us in this greenhouse. This is the garden right now.
It's a year-round project for you.
Yeah, well, pretty much when it gets really super hot, all these things will be out, obviously in the garden, growing and producing and everything. But we started planting in January, so we have a good 4 to 5 months where this is the big focus before everything gets out to the garden.
How old are these little plants we're looking at here?
Well, the tomatoes that are so large and everything, they've been growing since January. Some of the faster stuff like the herbs and the peppers probably only about a month. But you got to remember, they have fabulous soil, optimum conditions in here, not too hot, not too cold. We keep it at the temperature where they thrive. So if we want them to grow a bunch, we keep it a little bit warmer, and we can have seeds pop overnight and start growing. If we raise the temperature up to like 90 degrees, then you can control that. So that's the fascinating thing about the greenhouse.
When do you know when the time is to plant them in your garden outside?
Well, a lot of it has to do with what the weather is outside. A lot of people say April 15th, tax day, is the perfect day. But traditionally, we will get excited. We'll put stuff outside, and there'll be one cold day where you have to run out and cover everything. This year, interestingly enough, you can look at the 2-week forecast, and it's plenty warm every night. So it doesn't look like we're going to get that little gotcha from Mother Nature. Some people wait till Mother's Day because of that, but a lot of the stuff that we are planting here will start going in the ground this weekend.
And there is a garden tip for you listeners out there. I don't know if you can hear me. So people, when she's talking about it, Mother Nature is everything. So folks get all excited and they go run out and they go, oh, I'm going to Home Depot and buy some tomatoes. They won't live because the issue is about soil temperature. So we do know that here, tax day, frost, but in Tennessee, for our peppers and for your tomatoes to be successful, you have to have your soil temperature at least 70 degrees. So there's your garden tip for the day. So don't jump the gun. Don't get excited and wait, because our peppers and our tomato buddies, they love heat.
Well, you're doing a lot of good stuff here and a lot of right stuff, it appears. Do you have any other good garden tips for people here in Middle Tennessee?
Yeah, so water wisely. I think one of the biggest disasters that we see with tomatoes and with squash is powdery mildew or all kinds of unfortunate wilts. It's very important to water the proper way. If you have drip irrigation, that's what you want, but you want to water midday. Don't water late at night, because the water actually needs to get to the roots and the rest of it needs to evaporate. So if you water by hand, water about 3-4 o'clock. So watering is important. Soil quality absolutely is imperative. Go and check out, we have great relationships with some of the soil solicitors in the area, but go get to know the quality of your soil. And then definitely know your bugs. Know your bugs and invest in some neem oil. Just do a little bit of research or come take one of our classes. I'm not hustling. I'm telling you, it's really important.
We have a class on bugs.
We do have bugs, and bugs are definitely, they're my favorite, but Julie's teaching it. But definitely come and talk to us about all our great concoctions for weed killers, such as vinegar, salt, and a little bit of dish detergent, right? My final tip is, just because it's organic doesn't mean it's good. So be careful with where your water is going. We have wonderful water here in the Metro Nashville area. And so Julie Berglia, who does a phenomenal job, she teaches some of our classes. She does all the little education classes in the school system, but be very careful about where your runoff from your garden is going. We don't want organic fertilizers in our sewer system.
All right. Well, as time goes by, we're running out of time.
Wow.
Do you have any plans? Let's talk about just briefly about what you'd like to do. You don't want to stand still, I know, just from talking with you. What's in the future?
So when I said earlier that we have several garden managers, each one of us kind of has a specific place that they're going. So for Ariana, if you're out there, Ariana, hey, Ariana and I manage the herb gardens and the raised beds, and our main focus is to reintegrate back into the school systems, with the Bell Garden, like getting the students out here and off of their cell phones. So that's number one. Part of that is also, I personally want to work with all the other schools to help them get these amazing community and school garden programs going. So the second part of that, because I do love to teach, the second part of that is we talk about serving the underserved. So that's our second part from the raised beds herb garden thing. Again, like Deborah was saying, encouraging people to actually grow things that people want to eat. For example, if we're donating 1,000 pounds of food, do we really want to dump off, 800 pounds of bok choy? Is that helpful? No. So meeting people where they are. And the final part of that, when I say meeting people where they are, Nashville used to have something called Food Not Bombs, where we would go and make food and go into tent cities or serve people. So that's my other part, is how do I get food to people who really, really, really need it? What's your vision?
Well, you're just amazing. I want to touch back on a couple of things too, as far as volunteers are concerned. The day you volunteer, you get to take home produce. So besides learning and being around us, which is terrible fun, and getting to know us and everything, you do get to take home produce. So that's huge. And you will learn gardening tips working here and everything. Our soil is very clay, so amending the soil is very important, and you'll witness that with our compost and everything we do here. So you'll volunteer, you'll have a great time, you'll get to know us, you'll get to know a bunch of other great volunteers, you'll learn, and then you get to take home produce.
How many hours do I have to work to get a couple tomatoes?
Oh, you? Days.
We saw you at, I don't, there's something about you, Bucko. I'm not sure what's happening.
Well, I am from Reynoldsburg, Ohio, where they claim it's a birthplace of the edible tomato.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think the key there is the edible part.
Tomato.
Okay.
And I think Oh no, keep going.
No, that's it. That's all I know about Reynoldsburg.
I was like, I want to know more.
Yeah.
Can we have a
The
field
water
trip?
tank looks like a tomato, and there's a tomato queen every year. And
Wow.
I wanted tomato queen.
Yeah.
No, sunflowers. So I think there's another thing that's really important. Deborah was talking about our seed sale. Sustainability, 1, 3, 5-year plan for the Bell Garden, and always knowing where we're going, having a plan. We do, I know we're fun, but we're pretty tough that way. We always make sure that every single thing we do has a 1 to 3 to 5-year sustainability plan. And I don't mean just sustainability of the Bell, but also us doing things to encourage community sustainability. For example, she won't brag on herself, but one of the things that she did do was Deborah went through and cataloged all of our seeds and made sure that they went somewhere, even if they weren't viable anymore, because we had seeds. So she sat there and went through all of them and then said, hey, and then started getting involved in seed exchange. And there's Grow Inglewood. Well, let's have a Grow Bellevue. Let's have exchanges with all these other wonderful folks. But I think it's all about bringing sustainability to Nashville. I'm very interested in how we can work with the schools to manage zero waste programs, to encourage principals to have school gardens. And our favorite, though, is to bring people here that have never gardened before, right?
Mm-hmm.
We
It's
love
amazing.
we love the overwhelmed. We're like, no, put the Pinterest down, just come here. So I definitely think that it was my sunshine tomorrow. Our future is going to be pretty bright. And so thank you for hosting.
well, thank you. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
I've learned so much, and I'm sure our people have as well. I mean, a little gem. I've heard people say that this is the biggest secret in Bellevue,
kept secret. Yep.
and no more. Let's get out there and
Well, you must come back and tour the garden when we're flush.
Yes.
In the summer.
would
If you
love
could do a
to.
follow-up,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
And in the meantime, I guess we can just tell everybody to eat fresh.
Eat
Oh,
fresh
absolutely.
Eat fresh,
and be
right?
fresh.
Be fresh. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye bye.